What is up, YouTube? C here, and for today's video I will be ranking all 13 UFC events that happened this year, from UFC 311 to UFC 323, and I'll obviously be using the tier list as you can see right here. And basically how I'm judging these cards is my own personal enjoyment of them. You know, yours could be different. You know, I mean, honestly, you can enjoy a UFC event for different reasons, but this will be my opinion, okay? So, I mean, okay, well, there might be one that's absolute garbage on here that, you know, most people will probably agree, but let's wait. Actually, it'll probably be really soon, actually. But without further ado, and with no more fluff, let's get on to this video. So, for the first event, we have Makhachev versus Moicano. Now, I won't lie, the main card was actually pretty memorable. The main card had good fights, but when you look at the prelims, man, it's just, I mean, okay, let's look at the prelims real quick. Let's see. There's, you know, Takir Lembekov, you know, I don't remember. We did have two prospects get, you know, quote unquote fraud checked. We got Rinya Nakamura losing, and of course Peyton Talbot losing. And you know, yeah, actually Peyton Talbot's loss isn't looking that bad. I mean, Ronnie Barcelos is a good fighter, but okay, but we got to talk about this card's quality. I mean, you know, we got Azamat Bekoev, Bogdan Guskov, Grant Dawson's boring ass fought on here, and I mean, really, the prelims are just not really all that notable. I mean, except for, you know, Peyton Talbot and Rinya Nakamura losing. And I mean, but the main card, you know, we got, for the first fight, we had Kevin Holland versus Reiner de Ridder. And, you know, Reiner, he beat Kevin Holland. I mean, it was a bit of a confusing finish. I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, shit, I'll be honest, I'm probably going to misremember because some of these cards were just a bit forgettable. And also, this is the first card from January, so don't expect to remember everything, guys. But I do apologize in advance. We had Jailton Almeida win, you know, like KO TKO, which was a better performance than Derek Lewis fight. Actually, no, that wasn't the fight before. He lost to Curtis Blades, yeah. And then we had Yuri Prochazka and Jamal Hill beat the absolute shit out of each other, and that was a very good fight, very, very good. And we had Merab versus Umar, which was actually kind of a bit exciting. You know, it was actually a little bit entertaining. Now, whether or not you think Merab won is entirely up to you. I mean, you could look at the statistics, you could look at the moments, but I mean, it is a bit hard to, you know, there's some argument. But for the main event, we had Makhachev versus Arman. Oh wait, sorry, no, he pulled out because of broken back, because he was trying to bang Nina Drama or something. But we had Makhachev versus Renato Money Moicano, and you know, Money Moicano was actually the second Brazilian to drop Makhachev, you know, besides Alexandre Pantoja. And, you know, but unfortunately he got choked out by Darce, and this is Makhachev's fourth defense, and he's the only lightweight so far to do that. So if I want to try and use this card as a bit of a benchmark, because I feel like the main card is doing a bit of the heavy lifting, but I mean, there were some moments on the prelims. So for now, I'm debating with myself B or A tier. And you know what? And also, sorry if you can't see the cursor. For some reason, you know, the software I'm using, which you probably know, I turned it off. But anyways, back to the point. I'm gonna put this right now in B tier. I want to use this as a benchmark. Okay, let me use this as a bit of a benchmark. You know, just to sort of get it within myself. You know, just to be like, okay, this is what, you know, I personally think a card is good by. Now, for the next card, we have UFC 312, Rodriguez Duplessis versus Sean Strickland, with the co-main of Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez. And honestly, for now, I'm going to put this in D tier. Now, maybe I'll move it up to C tier, but there's literally nothing else notable about this card, man. It's literally the two title fights that I mentioned before, and I literally, okay, Quinlan Salkilled, he fought in this card. He KO'd Ansu Jubilee. And Colby Thigness versus Alexandre Topuria. Okay, both Alexandre, you know, he's gone on to be actually, you know, well, I mean, he's only fought one other time this year, but I mean, it was a good performance. And Colby Thigness, you know, he's a good fighter, man. He's a good fighter. Vyacheslav Borsha fought on here. Wang Kong, she fought on here. Okay, I'm literally just fishing. Look at the main card of this, dude. The main card is so fucking. There's literally only two. I don't even know. Okay, there's only two ranked fighters on. Actually, 4 ranked fighters on here. Sorry, and those are the 2 title fights. I don't even think Tyson Teixeira was ranked, bro. It's Jimmy Crute, Adolfo Vieira, Malato, Jake Matthews, Francisco Prado, Tyson Teixeira versus Justin Taffa, the GOAT Justin Taffa, the Blob. Just kidding. That's for our Pookie Bear, Shamil Gaziev. Sorry guys. But I mean, I'm literally trying to remember this card. Actually, I did make a video which performed so well, made John Carpenter's thing blush. But anyways, besides that poor ass joke, yeah. So I talked about how this was one of the fights that I actually one of the cards, excuse me, that I actually fell asleep through, because it was literally just okay. And also, okay, I won't lie, this let me get sidetracked a little bit. I was on my couch and sitting in recliner mode, and I mean, I kind of set myself up for that. But I mean, hey, if the card was boring, then I feel like the card played a part in this, and so I feel like for now this should be in D tier. Maybe I'll move it to C tier if something worse does come up. But I mean, look, man, this card was just fucking forgettable. Alright guys, and now for UFC 313. This card, I want to say C tier. This card is and here's my reasoning why. This card is actually pretty sure, maybe I'll see later, but this card is actually the shortest card ever. It's got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fights total. 5 on the main, and 5 on the prelims. Holy, oh wow! Obviously, guys, I guess math was clearly not my strong suit, y'all. But anyways, this is a pretty short card, and there's honestly nothing notable about it. The two notable things about this are Alex Pereira losing and Mauricio Rufy doing that spinning head kick on King Green. And okay, well, Joshua Van also fought on here, and so honestly, yeah, there's really just nothing else notable about this card. I mean, I'm literally trying to think of what to talk about it, but literally the only notable things are Rufy's KO and Pereira losing, and so I think this card, it's a solid C tier. Now, for the next card that we have Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez, and I'm debating S or A tier. You know what? I'll put this in S tier. I think this by far, by looking at these other cards that we haven't gotten to yet, I will say this was the best card of the year, hands down. The main event, let's actually go through the prelims first. Let's start off with the early prelims. Okay, first fight starts with a sub, KO, okay, decision, KO. Mikhail and Jacek beat Citrique Dumas. Trayshawn Gore loses. Oh shit. Juliana Rosa beats the shit out of Darren Elkins. Jim Miller loses to Chase Hooper. Verna Jandaroba, Raul Luzes Jr.'s sister, she wins by UD. And then Dan Ige comes back and beats Sean Woodson. And so this is what the UFC pay-per-views need, man. You need some name value on the prelims, some people that fans are gonna know. Not this like fighters that should be put in the apex, on pay-per-view. Just fighters that fans will actually know, like Chase Hooper. Who doesn't know Chase Hooper? Who doesn't know Mikhail and Jay? Okay, I guess you could say I'm trying to be a hardcore. Darren Elkins, come on. Y'all know Jim Miller too? Come on, y'all. Y'all should know these guys. And then the main card was very good. It was, besides one fight with Pitbull and Yair, I'd say, the main card was very good. We had Dominic Reyes KOing Nikita Krylov. Gene Silva fucking choking the shit out of Bryce Mitchell, man. And then, like I said, Yair versus Pitbull. And then Paddy Pimblett belt to ass on Michael Chandler, bro. That I will say, I know some people are gonna think that Patty's wins are bad, which that's true, they are bad. But you know, with Michael Chandler, I will say I think maybe he's gotten a little bit better, because at least he dominated Michael Chandler. Like, if this was a competitive fight, then you know, yeah, I don't think he's that good of a fighter, but I think he is an alright fighter. Okay, I just said something contradictory, but what I'm saying is that, you know, Patty beat Chandler the way he should have. You know, he beat the shit out of him. And so, you know, I guess that, I'm doing quotation with my fingers, interim lightweight belt, you know, I guess it's, you know, I mean, I hope they make it vacant. You know, if you heard about recent, as of, let's see, what's the day? Hold on, what is today? Sunday, December 21st. You know, who knows? Maybe it'll be for the vacant belt. But let's get back on track. So we, you know, had Patty beat the shit out of Chandler. And then Volk versus Lopez. This fight was very good. This is, if there was, actually this year was overall good for fights. I know, you know, judging by some of these cards, they were kind of meh, but we did have a lot of good fights, and I'd say this is the second or third good fighter this year, because the first we had Yuri versus Jamal Hill, and then, you know, we had this fight, and then, you know, I'm trying to think, I don't remember if there was any fight for that. I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe there was a really good fight in between from January to this card in April, but overall this was a very good fight. Volk got the win, and well, they're gonna rematch, which, you know, I can definitely see some people not being a fan of, which I actually don't disagree. I mean, it's kind of a well, overall this fight I think was the best card of this year, hands down. And so, you know, there's nothing much else to say. This was just good. And so now we get on to UFC 315. It's either, honestly, this card, the only reason it's not going in D tier is because it was saved by the main event with Jack versus Bilal, which I'll get to in a bit. But hold on, I'll play C here and C. I'll place it in C for a little bit, because this, like I said, man, see, they need to work. I hope next year, I think next year maybe they'll lock in, but I mean, I don't have any high hopes. But let's just, you know, this fight, C tier. I would put it in D tier, but it's got some name value. You know, you could know some of these fighters. I mean, who doesn't know Brad Katona? You know, who doesn't know Jan Kutelama, Modestas Bukauskas, or Jasmine Dasduvicius, or Mike Malott? You know, I mean, seriously, we had Aldo retire on this night, you know, against Ayman Zahabi, Alexa versus Natalia Silva. I mean, Benoit choked the shit out of Kyle Prepolek, which is actually more competitive than I think most people thought it would be. But now we have the main event. Actually, let's talk about. Okay, well, I'm not gonna talk about Valentina versus Manon Fiorot. It was pretty fucking forgettable. I don't. Yeah, just nah. And then we had Jack Della Maddalena versus Bilal Muhammad. This is my favorite fighter of the year. Maybe my second favorite fighter of the year. I'll say second for now, because we got one upcoming in the later half of June. That is, you know, I think we all know what it is. But anyways, this fight saves the card, man, from going in D tier. Because this fight was pretty back and forth. I know some people think that JDM dominated Bilal, and you could make an argument for that, but Bilal was actually doing good. He was doing good. And people are going to come up with this narrative that Bilal didn't try to shoot as much. He did, man, but JDM's game plan was so good. There was a short breakdown made by a guy. He did it in short form, you know, Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, but he broke it down. Basically, you know, JDM, he made sure he wasn't going to be able to get taken down by Bilal. Whether it was, you know, changing his level, using his head, throwing uppercuts, faking knees. You know, he pretty much made it so Bilal was like, fuck, what can I do? And so this fight is basically forced to be a stand-up fight. And even when Bilal got the big takedowns in round 4 and 5, JDM got up, man. And honestly, I think JDM could have finished Bilal in round 5. I honestly think he could have, but he just didn't want to risk it and put himself in a bad position. Which, I mean, what's Bilal gonna do? Hump the shit out of him? But this fight's gonna go in C tier. C tier is pretty fair right there. Now we have O'Malley versus Merab, and you know what? Let's go. I'll put this in B tier. I'll put this in B tier. Let's put this in B tier, cause there was some decent fights. There was actually some alright fights. I mean, you know, Joshua Van. Oh my God, Joshua Van. Whoa, nice to see you again, buddy. And so, you know, there was some alright fights on here. You know, Quinlan Sal killed. He beat some Jew up, which, you know, very anti-Semitic. Quinlan, come on, man, he can't beat a Jew up. And then we got Wang Kong again. She fought again. Okay. Andreas Gustafsson, the guy with questionable tattoos from Sweden. Waldo Cortes Acosta. Okay. B. Azamat. Yep. Azamat's KO was pretty fucking crazy though. Azamat KO'd the shit out of Brunson Ribeiro. He did do that. And then Joshua Van, he beat the shit out of Bruno Silva very badly, man. Very, very badly. And then Kevin Hall versus Sensei Luque. Holland did alright. Okay. He got the sub. I think it was with the Dars from what I remember. Yeah, Dars. And Mario Bautista versus Patchy Mix. Patchy Mix got the fucking Patchy Mix would fight. Hold on, let me try and come up with how Patchy Mix fights. Imagine if Kevin Durant tried to fight, but Kevin Durant has zero training. It looked like that, but somehow way worse. Because I don't know how this dude Patchy Mix fucking came in there and was stiffer than a Minecraft skeleton dude. I mean, my God. And Joe Parra versus Kelvin Gastelum. This fight is actually solid. This fight was a lot more, you know, I know it's forgotten, but because of its low output, but I will say this fight was kind of solid, you know, just a little bit. And then Kayla Harrison, she beat the shit out of Juliana Pena, and she out-humped her, and then choked well, she didn't actually choke her out, she got her with the Kimura, sorry. And speaking of submissions, O'Malley versus Merab, man. Merab beat the shit out of O'Malley, bro. It was worse than last time. This dude, Sean O'Malley, was like, alright, man, I'm going to stop gooning. Stop taking the za. I'm going to stop playing video games. Let me lock in. And yeah, nah, fuck no. He didn't lock in. He locked in so hard that he got his ass whooped. That's what happened. And so Merab choked him out with North-South choke. I think that's what it's called. And so I think this card overall, B tier. You know, this card, B tier. I think that's a safe assumption. Now we are going to talk about UFC 317, and honestly, I'll say A tier. A tier is pretty fair for this card. Let's start from the bottom. We got Renato Diniz versus Alvin Hines. Man, this fight was fucking great. See, there's a lot of great fights that don't get talked about, and I feel like this is one of them because Alvin Hines was actually putting belts of ass on Renato Diniz. I know if you look at the numbers, you know, and Alvin Hines' face, you'll be like, damn. But Alvin Hines is actually getting some good strikes in on Renato. I'm gonna just call him Diniz, you know. And so Alvin, I think he's gonna be a mainstay. I hope Alvin fights again soon, man. You know, and hopefully he doesn't rob any banks. If you know, you know. And so let's go on Nico Price versus Jacoby Smith. Jacoby Smith, I actually thought this dude was gonna be really good, but looking at Nico Price, I think he's still good, but maybe just underrated Nico Price. And Jacoby Smith, you know, he actually struggled a little bit, which is crazy, I know, against Nico Price. The dude was given to Robbie Lawler so he could win in his last fight. But I think Jacoby Smith is a little good fighter. T-Mac, Terrence McKinney versus Vyacheslav Borshev. It's a very quick ass fight. And then in 55 seconds, golly. You know, it's literally a combined total of 3 strikes. And 3 out of 4 strikes attempted. Okay. And then we had Tracy Cortez versus Viana Araujo. There was a lot of sore hands watching this fight, but nothing notable. It's just Tracy Cortez, what you expect. And then Hunter Mill versus Jose Miguel Delgado. I mean, ended very quickly. I actually don't remember this KO. And then Gregory Rodriguez fucking KO'd the shit out of Jack Hermanson. Just crazy. And then we had Payne Talbot versus Felipe Lima. Let me say this, man. Maybe y'all seen those memes where it's like UFC when you're alone, UFC when someone walks in. It was basically like that. So I was watching this with a group of buddies, you know. We paid for this card, and, you know, the thing cuts out, and then as soon as we pop it back in, Payne Talbot's in that position where he looks like he's doing like the 6'9" or something. So, you know, it's a very great way to get back into a fight. Then we have Benil versus Sonato, which is nothing fight. It's really nothing. And then Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval. Bro, this is the fight of the year. The fight of the year. There's no doubt about it, bro. You know, this fight was just fun. It was literally just a stand-up fight. There was no grappling at all. No attempts, nothing. Just straight hands. And I'll be honest, Brandon Royval, this fight going into the third round was 1-1. And let's just say it is surprising that it was that competitive, because this dude Joshua Van had fought 3 times already before he even got to this. Because he fought on 311, 313, and literally earlier this month on 316, which is just crazy. And so I mean, shit. This fight was just fucking great, man, overall. You know, that last minute knockdown by Joshua Van definitely won him the round, but you know, this fight was just fucking good. It was just so good. Just the awesome boxing, dude. This fight was basically just boxing. I mean, there was some kicks involved, but it was just straight hands, dude. And shit, I fucking love that fight. Now, Pantoja versus Kai, well, it was very one-sided. Very one-sided. Pantoja basic. I mean, I will say striking wise, you know, maybe a little bit even. But I mean, Kai's known for just striking. And Pantoja, you know, I mean, he's got decent striking, but obviously Pantoja brought it to the ground. And it's actually impressive that Pantoja won this fight, because I believe he went into it with a staph infection. And so, that's why. And so, even though he did submit him in the third round, I mean, he could have probably done it a little faster. Now, Ilya versus Charles, this fight was obviously AI, just fake as hell. I will say, though, I thought Charles was going to heel hook the shit out of Ilya. I was like, oh my god, and then Ilya just got out. And then Ilya just hit that crisp, you know, his boxing sequence of that cross hook, or it was hook cross, and then just boom, just knocked the shit out of Oliveira, man. And yeah, this fight, A tier. This fight deserves to be an A tier. A tier. Now, for the next fight, we got Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. I want to put this in A tier. I'm thinking about it, but for now, I'll put it in B. Put it in B for now. Put it in B. Let's start from the bottom, you know. Carly Judice versus Nicole Kalari. I actually don't remember this fight. See, unfortunately, I can't remember every fight, guys. I'm sorry. You know, I can't remember, you know, early prelim fighter Carly Judice versus Nicole Calamari. Fucking Calamari over here, but KO, okay. Bruno Ferreira got the sub over Jackson McVeigh. I think Jackson McVeigh was a short notice guy, so not bad. Brian Spann won, okay. And Jimmy Crute. Islam Dulatov got the KO over Adam Fugit. Now, this dude Islam Dulatov, he's pretty cold. So I am actually probably thinking about making a video going over the prospects, you know, to keep an eye on. So maybe stay tuned for that to see if it comes to fruition. Maybe it won't, but who knows. But Islam Dulatov, I think he's someone who you should keep an eye on. Ateba Gautier KO'd the shit out of Robert Valentine, bro. And, you know, this, man, Robert Valentine, you know, he's just the D guy hire, man. What can I say? You know, he's from fucking Switzerland, you know. This dude, Ateba Gautier from Cameroon, 6'4" at 185. He's probably more like 6'2" or 6'3". But, shit, Ateba Gautier, maybe another guy to keep an eye on, but I don't think he's a prospect anymore. He's more of a mainstay. And then we had Nikolay Vertanov versus Francisco Prado. think I actually remember this fight. It was actually kind of a little bit back and forth. Now, Brandon Allen versus Marvin Vettori. This is one of those fights that I don't think gets talked about enough because it was actually kind of good. It was, I will say, in my opinion, it was a good fight. It was a very good fight. There was a bit of grappling in there, but overall, if you put the time together, it's just under 3 minutes of grappling in a 15-minute fight. So they literally just struck with each other, and man, they did beat the shit out of each other for middleweights. I mean, the striking was pretty good. And then Vinicius Oliveira versus Kyle Phillips, just nothing. Michael Johnson somehow beat Daniel Zellhuber. I didn't see this fight. And then Pitbull, he got his get back on. He got his first win in the UFC against Dan Ige. And then D-Rod versus Kevin Holland. Man, this is a good fight. Now this is a banger. This was a banger, this fight. These two absolutely beat the shit out of each other, man. You know, there was a good amount of grappling, but honestly, it was just because these two guys were pretty fucking tired. And man, this is a good fight. Honestly, if anybody watching this wants to go back and watch fights, this is definitely one of them because it was very good, very back and forth. And then Costa versus Roman Kopylov. Dang, I think everybody's surprised at Paulo Costa because Paulo Costa, he's 34 and he's still doing very good, very good, despite him not having fought since. Actually, I think this was his first fight in over a year because I know he fought Strickland last year on that Poirier versus Islam fight. So I don't think he fought at all. But he came back and well, he put on a performance against Roman Kopylov and he did pretty good. And now Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. You know, these two banged and swanged. This fight was actually, honestly, I will say, this is probably like the third best fight on this card. You know, behind Vettori and Allen and then Holland versus D-Rod. This is the third best fight, which I know sounds crazy, but this fight, you know, was a stand-up fight. There was some grappling involved because Poirier shot one takedown, but Holloway, you know, controlled him on the fence a little bit, and then, you know, they struck, and then they went in the middle, and then Holloway got a good hit, and Poirier was like, nah, fuck that, I need to shoot a takedown, and then, you know. So I feel like overall, I'm gonna keep it in B tier. I want to put this in A tier, but I don't know, man. It's just, I don't think it deserves. You know what? Actually, just because of those 3 fights, I'll put it in A tier. I'll be nice enough for that. I'll be considerate, I guess. And now, for UFC 319. Oops, sorry. You see, do I want to put it in C tier for the main event? Now, I'm not obviously, this fight is not D tier worthy, but it's getting there. It's arguably, you know, there. Arguably. But, C or B tier? I think, you know, I'll put it in C tier for now. Because let's go through it. Joseph Morales versus Ali B. Oh yeah, by the way, this is a tough fight. Joseph Morales versus Ali B. Idris. Okay. I actually don't remember. Kareem Silva. Barbosa versus Ricard. Okay. Exciting fight. Remember. Alex Hernandez KO'd the shit out of Chase Hooper in the last couple seconds of round 1. And honestly, Alex Hernandez, man, I will say, he's got to keep an eye on because he's fighting Michael Johnson next year at the first UFC card of the year, UFC 324. Yeah, 324. Yeah, 324. So he's fighting against him. So if he wins that, I hope he gets a fight in the rankings because he's actually having a bit of a career resurgence. And then Lupi versus Andrade, you know, Mikhail KOs the shit out of Gerald Meerschaert. And then Bison versus Sakaya. This dude literally fought a week earlier. Actually, no, 4 days earlier on the Contender Series. This was like, hey man, just give me a fight. Did a quick turnaround and then fought Eric Nolan. I will say, this fight was competitive for a little bit. Because Bison probably didn't take him seriously, but Nolan actually got some good hits in. But man, Bison Tier, you know, beat the, you know, he obviously won. He submitted to Eric Nolan. I forgot. I think he got some good body kicks on him too, which led to the submission. I'm either confusing that with his Contender Series fight or something else. I could have sworn, but Tim Elliott, man, he beat Kyle Sakura. He really Bro fraud check Kyle Sakura. And now Kai's fighting at 135, so alright. And then MVP versus Jerry Cannonier, pretty important fight. Carlos Paredes, you know, versus Jeff Neal. Good fight, alright fight. We're going alright, and then Carlos Paredes, you know, they start grappling, and he's like, hey, don't grapple me, bitch, and then Jeff Neal lets go. And then after a couple of seconds, Carlos Paredes just does that spinning elbow, knocks the shit out of Jeff Neal. Just boom. And speaking of spinning elbows, Laurel Murphy versus Aaron Pico. Now, Aaron Pico, he's a hype guy from Bellator. He's actually supposed to fight Mozart Evloev at one of the UFC Arab cards. I think it was it was one of those Arab cards. Then he gets moved to this card, and Laurel Murphy steps in on short notice. And then he does the spinning elbow, and Aaron Pico is just out, man. He's just boom, just goes down. And then Laurel Murphy does the super necessary, and boom, just KOs him. And I hear that apparently he's gonna fight Mozart Evloev in UFC London, which I think is just a terrible idea. I mean, come on, why are you gonna make this dude fight at UFC London? He should fight on Volk's card of UFC 325. I believe UFC 325 will be Volk's card against Lopez rematch. You know, fight under there. I mean, it makes sense. Like, whatever. And then we got the main event, which was, well, I'm looking at statistics right now, and Hamza Chimaev landed 529 out of 567 strikes. Only 37 out of 47 were significant. So yeah, this fight was probably bottom one. Actually, no, title fights. This is like bottom 5 title fights of all time. Just blow my head off. But fight was terrible, absolutely terrible. And so, I feel like just for that, it does deserve to be in C tier. Just for that. Maybe I'll put it in B tier, but you know, I think right there is safe. Now, we have Pereira vs. Ankalaev 2. And so, I'll put it in B tier for now. I'll put it in B tier. So let's start from the bottom. Let's do it like how we've been doing it for this whole video. Let's start from the bottom. Veronica Hardy, okay. You see, I'll just go through these fights and, you know, maybe bring up someone notable. You know, if it was notable in any way. Edmund Shabazian, okay, he got a KO. I don't remember that. Jacob Willax makes his UFC debut, and he does very good against Patchy Mix. Patchy Mix, he had to resort to grappling, but Jacob Willax just outstruck him. Although by like 10 strikes, which isn't a lot, but did enough to get the win. And then Daniel Santos against Ju Sang-woo. Now this dude Ju Sang-woo, he was popping off. He got like a McGregor-like KO back in June, either June or July, on one of those fight nights. So he was hyped. And so in this fight, he just starts taunting the shit out of Daniel Santos, and Daniel Santos just knocks the shit out of Ju Sang-woo. And now Ateba Gauthier versus Tristan Violent. What else can I say? Ateba just knocks the shit out of this dude. Black on black violence. This is pure black excellence. And then Joe Piper versus Abus Magomedov. Joe Piper just submits Abus Magomedov. You know, I mean, what else is there to add? I don't remember this fight. And then Yusuf Salah versus Josh Emmett. Yusuf got a very good armbar. I'm pretty sure he like rolled or something. I honestly forget. I'm trying to remember. But he got a very good armbar against Josh Emmett. And while Josh Emmett did a tap, he did scream, so verbal tap out. And then Yuri versus Khalil Roundtree, man. Khalil was whooping Yuri. He was winning. Khalil was winning this fight with Yuri for the first 2 rounds. And then Yuri decided, let me lock in for a little bit. Let me lock in. And so he just decides, alright, boom. And then he just knocks the shit out of Khalil, man. And fuck. When Khalil fell, dude, like face planted, just stiff as a board, shit. Just this is top 5. That was a top 5 fight of the year for sure. I'd say. And now we got the champ, Magomed Ankalaev, against former champ Alex Pereira. And Alex Pereira absolutely knocks him out. You see, in the first fight, Alex Pereira was super scared, man. He was super scared. And while watching the fight, you see, I was basically, y'all seen those memes of those, like, where it's like, oh man, I would have done this, while, this guy's not doing what I would do. I was basically acting like that. I was watching this with my dad, and we were like, and I was like, bro, why are you circling, man? Just step in, dude. And I don't blame Pereira, because Ankalaev was just clinching in the first fight a lot, and so I don't blame. But if you actually look at the takedowns, Pereira actually got the only takedown of the fight where he judo tripped Ankalaev. And so, excuse me, I will say, wait a minute. Before we even get to that, oh shit, I forgot about Merab versus Corey, bro. Let me finish about Pereira versus Ankalaev. So basically, Pereira starts off more aggressive. He's more aggressive. He steps in. He's a lot more aggressive with his punches, his kicks, and then he wobbles Ankalaev. He wobbles him, and then Ankalaev goes for a takedown. And then Pereira, he sprawls, gets the underhook, circles, and then just drops hammer fists on Ankalaev, and then boom. And bro, all I gotta say is Ali Abdelaziz is one of the most annoying people in combat sports, man. Because this dude was like, oh, well, Ankalaev was injured, and wow. Dude, Pereira literally fought within the span of a year, four times this was his fourth. When Pereira fought Ankalaev the first time, that was his fourth fight within a year. If I'm doing the math right, for his fourth fight within a year, and Pereira literally had a broken foot, and I think he was sick too. And then in this fight, apparently Ankalaev has a rib injury, and it's just like, oh, I have a bruised rib. So I mean, just shut up, Ali. But let me go back to the co-man. Man, why was this popping up? Merab, he did Merab his shit. He actually struck a lot more with Corey, which I don't blame him for, because I like how people gas up Corey, but Corey Sandhagen I don't think he's that good. That's me speaking personally. I don't see he's got some wins over champs, but Frankie Edgar, late stage. This dude is literally, okay, he did get a win over Figgy, but Figgy kind of broke his leg, so I mean, is that really a good win, man? Is that really a good win? And so, I mean, okay, let's stop. But, Merab was a lot more striking heavy against Corey. And he actually outstruck Corey when you look at the numbers, and he was doing that in the fight too. And he actually wobbled Corey pretty badly. And they don't count it, but I could have sworn he got a drop against him. I'm pretty sure he did drop Corey during their fight, from my memory. But he did also out-grapple him, obviously got 20 takedowns, 10 minutes of control time. So, I mean, yeah. So, looking back at this card, I want to put it in A tier. I kind of want to. Because the main card was actually pretty solid overall. And there was some good prelims, so, I'll put this in A tier. And now, we move on to UFC, is it 320? What is this, bro? UFC 321, sorry. Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. And so, now this fight did have a bit of a, unfortunately notable main event, and so, I mean, before we get onto that, let's just go through the prelims, Chris Barnett, he loses to Hamdi Abdelbab, and then he gets cut. R.I.P. Chris Barnett. Walter Walker gets another heel hook against Louis Sutherland. Ludwig Kleiner versus Mateusz Rebecki. This is a top 5 fight for sure. Mateusz Rebecki always brings it. This fight was very, very good fight. Very, very good fight. Just fucking chef's kiss. Ikram Askarov versus Jung Young Park, the Turtle. Nothing notable. Nasrat Hakperest, which Quinn Sal killed. He owned a bakery, and that got DC excited, which, I'm sorry to get excited by the KO, but Quinn Sal kill and did the, jab cross fake the jab cross, and then right head kick, and just knocked knock the shit out of Nasrat Hasperas. And by the way, this is actually short notice for Quinlan, because I'm pretty sure Nasrat had another opponent, but they fell out. Or maybe I'm misremembering, and this is actually short notice for both of them. But anyways, Quinlan has actually proven himself to be a good fighter, is what I'll say. He's proven himself to be a good fighter, and I think he's getting matched up with the guy that's not on the rankings. He's literally just minority hunting at this point. Just the fucking man. This guy put this guy on ice, man. Sheesh. But if he wins his next fight, I feel like he should get someone in the rankings, or at the very least, someone outside the rankings. That's what I think. And then now we got Azamat Murzakanov versus Alexander Rakic. Azamat just KOs the shit out of Rakic. And then Volkov versus Jeltsin Almeida. Jeltsin just tries to wrestle hump the shit out of Volkov, but Volkov, you know, was trying to strike. I'm doing quotations with my fingers. And so Volkov gets a split decision. And Umar versus Mario Batista. I think based on this fight alone, Umar is probably going to be the next champ. I feel like that's safe to say. If Umar beats, he's fighting Figgy in January. If he beats Figgy, him versus Petr Yan, you know, that will be a very great fight. That will be a very exciting fight. And Mario, he did drop Umar, but I don't think Petr Yan can do the same, sadly. But if he does, then, you know, shit, I'll be smiling ear to ear like a motherfucker. But, you know, just nothing. And then Verna versus McKenny Dern. This fight is actually a bit underrated, man, because the grappling was actually kind of solid. It was some solid grappling. For a 25-minute fight, and they were actually striking with each other, bro. Mackenzie Dern's face was all cut up and shit, and, you know, this fight, I actually like this fight. I like this fight. And no, it's not for the reason that y'all are thinking, you know. I mean, look, the bottle of lotion and tissue papers are looking at me right now, but anyways, you know, this fight was good. I will say it was good. It was good. And then I think you already see where I'm going with this. The main event, Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. I will say though, Cyril Gane was doing a good job. He was, you know, striking very well against Tom Aspinall. But man, I fucking hate Cyril Gane, dude. I know some people are gonna think that Tom is a bitch for stopping a fight, and there were guys like Chael Sonnen, Anthony Smith that were like, oh man, you know, he's not a warrior for, you know, we're warriors because we kept fighting. Yeah, and y'all don't have a fucking belt. And Anthony Smith, you're a garbage fighter. Chael, you're teetering on there. I'm just kidding. Chael does have good wins, but anyways, I know Anthony Smith should not be talking, but let's get back on point. This dude literally got double eye poked. And now this wasn't some double eye poke where it was just, you know, just like where Gane extended his arm. This was like Gane like stepped in eye poke, so there was some force behind it. And apparently, you know, after the fight, Aspinall's eyes weren't that bad, but Aspinall himself claims they were bad. That his eyes were actually hurting, but let's be honest, anybody's eyes would be hurting, man. And so, you know, I will say Aspinall made the right call. I hope this fight can happen soon. Although judging by the exchanges and, you know, the news around it, maybe the earliest it can happen is March or April. But I'm hoping March, because if it gets put on that Oliveira vs. Holloway card, then honestly that would be a good. I feel like they'd probably put that as the co-main. I'd say they'd probably put that as a co-main. But overall, this card, I'm gonna put it in C tier. It deserves to be in C tier. And now for the next card. No, I don't think UFC 3. Fuck, I'm trying to 322. I'm sorry, guys. This is a very long video. I'm looking at the runtime right now, and I think we're a little over 40 minutes. Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena in the main event, and Valentina Shevchenko versus Shang Weili in the co-main. Now, what I will say is, this fight does got some people on there. And we had Vyacheslav Borshev lose by UD, and then we had Baisingser Susurkayev against Eric McConaughey. This fight was a banger. This fight was actually pretty good. Eric McConaughey actually put up a bit of a good fight against Baisingser Susurkayev, and he was actually doing some good whoop. He was whooping his ass a little bit. But obviously, Bisinger, he KO'd the shit out of Aaron McConaughey. I honestly don't remember how he did. I think it was like back of the year or something. This dude like threw a punch that just fucking make him go to the ground and put his head in his palms and shit. I don't know. I forget, man. And then Kyle Dawkins, he comes back. This is his second fight after coming back against Michelle Pereira. I forgot. But it's Kyle Dawkins' second fight back in the UFC. He submits Gerald Meerschaert, the GOAT. Gerald Meerschaert. People forget, man, Gerald Meerschaert, he didn't get taken down by Khamzat Chimaev. He's automatically the GOAT. And then this fight, Malcolm Millmaker versus Ethan Ewing was a very good fight, man. Hands down. This fight had a little bit of everything, a little bit of just very minimal grappling, and it was just hands, bro. Ethan Ewing came in with a good game plan and just, he was aggressive with Millmaker. He made it really dirty, made it up close and personal, and just outstruck him. This is basically blue collar on blue collar violence, man. And well, shit, it was a very good fight. I hope Ethan Ewing, sticks around and fights. I feel like after a fight or two, he should fight up in the rankings. Aaron Blanchfield for Tracy Cortez was competitive for a bit, but Aaron, she got her get back. She got her get back against Tracy, took her down, and then choked her with rear naked choke, even though it wasn't fully sunk in. And then Gregory Rodriguez versus Roman Kopylov. I don't remember this fight at all, so we'll just move on. And then Bo Nickel, Bo Nickel leveled up and learned how to head kick, and he head kick KO'd Rodolfo Vieira, and actually was a lot more patient, actually set his shit up. And then Benoit Saint-Denis with Beneil Dariush. Benoit, this fight was very short, 16 seconds. Benoit just throws like a stray left hook and lands it right on Beneil's ear, and Beneil just goes doo, 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 doo. And lights out for Beneil. And then Carlos Paredes versus Leon Edwards. Carlos Paredes literally knocks Leon off his feet and just makes him go doo. And man, Carlos just has some crazy power, man. I don't know what it is with Carlos, but he just has crazy power. Okay, he did get his back taken by Leon, but we all know Leon isn't gonna submit shit, man. Leon is just fucking booty at grappling. And, man, just that image of fucking Carlos just looking so unbothered, man. Just shit. And then we had Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. And I guess being zesty is the best base for MMA. Hands down. Because Michael Morales just fucking beat the shit out of Sean Brady. I will say, though, I feel bad for Sean Brady. I do feel bad. Because this dude could have just waited for a title fight. But he took this fight, and now Michael Morales, he's probably like, I'd say maybe the second or third guy in line. Ian Gary's obviously number one. And who knows, maybe that's a hot take, but I really don't think that's a hot take. And so, but for the two main events, let me just say one thing. Lay and pray. Lay and pray. Lay and pray. And while I do have this in B tier, I'm fighting with myself not to put it in C tier, man. Y'all see how, you see why? You see, I literally don't, there's literally nothing to talk about the two main fights, because it's literally just lay and pray. I mean, do I want to put this on here, on C tier, on par with Duplessis, on par with Pereira versus Ankalaev and Bilal versus JDM? I mean, maybe I'll move these two fights up, but I don't know, man. This is really, because it's really nothing. I mean, you know what? I'll put this up here because the spinning elbow is here. Actually, let me wait till the end of the video to reorganize. Let's talk about the last card of the year. Let's talk about Merab Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan with the co-main of Joshua Van versus Alexander Pantoja. Now, let's start from the bottom. This is the last card of the video, which is, holy shit, this video is going to be a decent amount of me talking. Marion Santos gets a late KO against Muhammad Naimov. Okay. Mansur Abdul Malik, he's off-brand Ateba Gautier. He's who people think, he's basically, hold on, I'm trying to come up with a, he's off-brand Ateba Gautier. What else can I say? He KO'd Mackenzie Dern's ex. And Iwo versus Ebo Aslan, you know, these two decided, you know what, fuck it, man, let's just throw down. And there was at least, officially there was 3 knockdowns, but I want to say there was at least 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7. But, you know, this fight was basically just them beating the shit out of each other. And I hope Dana keeps these guys both in. They deserve it. And then Jalen Turner, he KOs the shit out of Edson Barbosa. And then Bruno Ferreira versus Marvin Vettori was an alright fight. It was pretty mediocre. And then Fares Ziam gets the upset against Nazim Zadikov. You know, KOs him with the late elbow while he's like getting off the ground. And people will say the stoppage was maybe a little early, but this dude Nazim was basically on his hands and knees, like trying to get up. So honestly, they were just I will say the referee was just trying to save him, man. And then Macy Barber versus Kareem Silva, nothing notable. Chris Duncan against Terrence McKinney. Terrence McKinney starts off hot, wobbles Duncan. Duncan knocks McKinney down and then submits him. And then Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres. Manuel Torres, well, kills the shit out of Grant Dawson. So Manuel Torres, you know, shit, he's the Mexican hero for sure. And then Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. Draw. This dude Jan is literally 0-2-2 in his last 4. He has not won a fight in over 3 years, which is just sad. I hope they rebook this fight for UFC for that Holloway versus Oliveira card in March. I feel like they should. And then we had Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbot. These two meet the shit out of each other. You know, it was a very good fight. You know, very good retirement fight for Henry Cejudo, I will say. You know, Henry left it all in the cage, and very good fight. Peyton Talbot, he's proved himself, man. He took down Olympic gold medalists. He's got great grappling, man. And then Tatsuro Taira versus Brandon Moreno was a KO. I will say, this was definitely a late stoppage, man. No. This was a bad stoppage. Because the difference between Sadikov and Perez was, Sadikov was noticeably, you know, wobbled. Moreno literally looked fine, man. Moreno wasn't wobbling when he stood up. He was like, wait, what are y'all doing? He was just so confused. And look, I know Moreno did take some bad shots. You know, he could have, you know, probably got knocked out. But I feel like you gotta let it go on for a little bit more. That was probably the worst stoppage of this card, not of the year. But, you know, let's go to the co-main title fight. Joshua Van versus Pantoja. Man, this fight has a lot to... Oh, wait, never mind. Pantoja breaks his elbow or shoulder, whatever. Alright, so Joshua Van, you know, people say he's a paper champ, and honestly, I mean, I believe it a little bit, you know. But listen here, man. Pantoja is 35 years old. He's fought for a long-ass time. And he's Brazilian, so he's definitely been training for a long-ass time. Okay, let me tell you a bit of a story. I planted my arm before. I did wrestling. I planted my arm before on the mat, and it hurt like a motherfucker. And that was after 2 years of me doing wrestling. You know, I forget. I forgot, man. Don't do that. But sometimes in the heat of the moment, you know, you just do that. But I guess Pantoja, I can understand where he's coming from. You know, he just didn't see. He just, you know, was in the heat of the moment, put his hand down, and then just pow, just arm just goes boom. And so I will say that I want to say the win was fair. I really do. But honestly, you know, I don't blame people calling Van a paper champ. And so, what I can say is that, you know, I will say that Van deserves the belt. Because Pantoja, by the time he comes back, I think he's going to be 36. And I don't think he should fight for the belt when he comes back, man. Because at that point, it literally is just a free defense for his opponents. Because, first of all, his arm is messed up. And he's going to be 36 at flyweight. So, unless they do, which, who knows. Maybe he'll come back and, you know, actually do have a good fight. But let's stop waffling and, you know, let's just get to the main event. Merab versus Petr Yan. Top 5 fight of the year. I know I probably said that a lot through this video when I think about it, but this year was, you know, raft with good fights. And so Merab versus Petr Yan. I will say, Merab striking with Petr Yan may be a bit of a bad choice, but this dude did try. This dude literally attempted 29 takedowns, so that narrative isn't even good. And he did rack up some. He did only land 2, but he did rack up some control, and he tried submissions too. But Petr Yan literally was like that fucking meme of, oh no, I'm just downloading data. Hold on, and then just locks in, and just boom. He bloodied up Merab. He wobbled him. He hurt him in the bot, bro. I don't know what Petr Yan's kicks are like, but judging by Merab's, reactions where he just screams, I will say, I don't think you should get kicked by Petr Yan, man. This just sounds brutal. And so, this fight was just good, man. I mean, what else can I say about it? Petr Yan is champ. I hope he fights, maybe April or May. I mean, this dude definitely, 25-minute fight, very brutal. And also, I will say one thing about Aljo, bro. Aljo was like making excuses for Merab, like, oh man, it was early, Merab was warming up. What? Petr Yan went through the same shit, fam. So I don't know where that comes from, but yeah. So I will say this fight, I want to put it in S tier. I'm debating with myself. I'm trying to think. Okay, hold on. Let's. You know what? I'll put it in S tier. This will be an S tier fight. Now let me do some reshuffling real quick before I want to put this here. Actually, you know what? Let me try and organize this a little bit. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's try and keep it a bit organized. Just a bit. Let's see. Yeah, I'll put this at the back. See, I'll keep this like that. I feel like, I don't know, this one should be C tier, this one C tier. I mean, can Root 2 spinning back-to-back elbows put you in B tier? Maybe. You know what? I'll be nice. I'll put this in B tier. I'll put this in B tier. I mean, it was just one title fight, but this shit. I don't know. Should I put this in B tier as well? Nah, the 2 title fights ruined it, man. I don't care. People are. If anybody's watching this and they get mad at me, I mean, look, man. You really expect me to, let everything else before that, be like, yeah, man, this is worthy being in B tier. No, at least B tier. Hell no. Aspen was gone. I think that's fair. You know what? I will say I'll put this in front. I'll put this in front. Yeah. All right. I think that's it. I think that is my tier list, guys. Maybe some of y'all will agree. I will say some people definitely disagree with me. And this is just my opinion. I do feel partial to be objective, but this is my opinion, guys. So if you don't agree, maybe comment your own ranking, in the comments. But this is my ranking of all the UFC pay-per-views this year, and there's really nothing much that I got to say. If you made it this far into the video, I really appreciate if you like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and well, everybody out there, stay safe and peace.